Favorite college place setting you've ever played in or been to?
Boy, there's some good ones.
You played in the big house.
Played
at
in the big
Michigan.
house. Played at Ohio State. Those were great. Growing up in the Midwest, that was kind of where it was, and both of those are great venues.
South Bend?
South Bend, never played there. Visited there, and I've seen a couple games. That's historic as well. But for me, it was Ohio State, Michigan. I was a Big Ten guy.
Did you get recruited by Ohio State or Michigan?
I did get recruited by both, yes. And I was from Michigan, so my mom loved Woody Hayes. Woody Hayes never talked to me, always talked to my mom, and she's saying, "Oh, you should go play for that man. He's just so sweet." I said, "Did you see him tear up the sideline markers?" But he knew how to recruit the moms. He did.
What about Bo Schembechler?
Bo was an Ohio guy too, and he kind of thought that because we lived in Michigan, grew up in Michigan, we should come, and we ended up having a very good relationship after I graduated. But I ended up going to Minnesota.
But you talked about this before, that your dad was such a Michigan fan that you really you were looking at, would I coach Michigan? Would I coach the Detroit Lions?
Yeah. My dad was the biggest Michigan guy in the world, and I grew up about 20 miles from the campus. Always kind of envisioned myself being there. But my mom went to Michigan State, so that was there was a little pull there in the family.
Let's say 6 years ago that you hear from Michigan or the Lions.
Yeah,
would it have been different?
Yeah, it would have been. It would have been. If my dad was still alive and I had a chance to coach the Lions, I think I probably would have.
Really?
Yeah.
What about Michigan?
And, I was out of college ball for so long. I really didn't know the college game and what it takes and everything you have to do. My dad would have loved to have seen that, though.
But Harbaugh's made that transition. But is he more of a college coach than a pro coach?
He spent the time at Stanford and San Diego, and the rules and how you have to do things. It's a different game. It really is, and it's hard to be good at both. Jim has done a good job.
I mentioned the Ryan Leaf jersey, the Colts jersey, and this is the 1998 draft. And when you think about it, this could have changed football history if the Colts had taken Ryan Leaf instead of Peyton Manning. Now now it's revisionist history that everybody who was in the war room at the time said, "Oh, we weren't coming close to taking Ryan Leaf," but they made the jersey up just in case, and Leaf gave us that jersey.
And that tells you that it wasn't a slam
they made
dunk.
up a jersey.
Yes. And by the end of the day, draft day, everybody was on board, but it wasn't, oh, hey, it's a slam dunk. Here's what they were saying about Peyton, if you'll remember. He's been, brought up by his dad. He's had great coaching. He's been in the pro system. He's as good as he's going to be. He doesn't have the great arm strength. Ryan Leaf, look at this guy. Look at the body. 1 year, he's at junior college, and he's going to be better. He's going to improve. His ceiling is higher. And the Colts fought through all that, and they did all their research, and it really was the interview process. Peyton came in with his notebook, and he's interviewing them. Ryan's a little bit late, kind of laid back, and I think Bill Polian in that group at that point said, this is the leader, this is the guy we want, and he's not going to fail. But it wasn't a slam dunk process. Oh, Manning was 1 and Leaf was 2 for the whole way through.
Do you believe, as Ryan Leaf told us, that he kind of through the interview, that he showed up late on purpose, that he wanted to be a Charger?
He could have. I mean, he maybe wanted to play on the West Coast and that type of thing. I don't know that for sure, but the interview process I do know tipped the scale, and that was really the big
But could
factor.
the Colts have made Ryan Leaf a good player?
Well, you look at it this way. Now, Peyton Manning had one offensive coordinator, one offense for his whole career in Indianapolis. He had Marvin Harrison, Marshall Faulk, Edgerrin James, Reggie Wayne. Bill Polian put a lot of weaponry around him. I'm not saying Ryan Leaf would have been Peyton Manning, but we're talking about Cam Newton before, and weapons and system, and put him with Tom Moore and that group of players. You don't know what's going to happen.
The game last night, the Cowboys got into overtime, and Drew Brees then hit C.J. Spiller. How did the Cowboys sort of survive here in that division?
Their formula without Romo and without Dez would be rely on the offensive line, Brandon Whedon take care of the football. Defensively, we've got to make some plays. But they're losing their playmakers on defense. And Sean Lee went out. They had some guys banged up. They lost a linebacker right before the play to Spiller.
Well, they get Hardy back, though.
That will help, and they get Gregory back. That's the thing. The last 2 weeks they've had the lead. They haven't been able to rush the passer and close the games out when they've had the lead. So they've got to get healthier. Even, obviously getting Romo back would be huge, but they've got to get healthy on defense and create some plays. That's how they're going to survive this period of time.
Is it panic time in Philadelphia?
I don't think it's panic time, but what they're doing offensively is not creating space for DeMarco Murray. And I think part of the reason is people aren't honoring Sam Bradford as a runner. Even Nick Foles ran some Sanchez when they had Michael Vick. You had to defend that quarterback, and that lets you block a little bit differently. Murray hasn't had those gaping holes that the other. But
why did Chip think Sam Bradford was going to give you an element as a running quarterback?
I'm not sure what the thought process was there. I saw Sam Bradford. I was at practice the Friday before the season started, and he was red hot. He was on fire. He was sharp. Every pass was accurate. And I think that's what Chip saw. It just hasn't materialized these first 3 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, he buys a little more time because they did well in the first 2 seasons. Now he's the GM, so you can get doubly blamed for the players you bring in and how you coach them.
Well, there's no question he has created this roster, and he likes it. He's got guys that he wants and he likes. Now they've got to produce.
The undefeated team that you're all in on and the undefeated team you're not.
I like Green Bay.
More than New England?
I've seen more defense out of Green Bay. I'm surprised at how well their defense is playing. New England, I still have to see them play some people. Brady, those are the 2 best quarterbacks in the league right now. So they're, to me, on top of the list. Carolina, you said weak division. I like the way Atlanta's playing. Denver is playing great defense. They still have to run the ball better to me. They're winning these games with a defensive play at the end of every game. I'm not sold on the Broncos yet.
Talking to Tony Dungy joining us here in the Man Cave. Is Aaron Rodgers playing at a better level than Peyton ever played?
I don't know about ever, because that 2004 season, 2005, Peyton was sharp. Aaron Rodgers is playing great football, and he brings that element of mobility. We watched the plays last night where he's moving around, buying time, waiting for people to get open. Now you drop 8 and cover everybody, and he runs. That part, as a defensive coordinator, just kills you. And he is throwing the ball. I'll tell you what he's doing better than anybody I've seen is protect the football. To go these long stretches without throwing interceptions. And it's not because he's dinking and dunking. He is making plays down the field, throwing balls in tight spots, but still avoiding turnovers. He's playing as well as anybody's played the game.
I think 38 touchdowns, 5 picks last year.
And hasn't thrown an interception at home in 2.5 years.
But can you look at Brady and actually – Brady seems to be getting better for a guy after the Kansas City loss last year that we thought maybe it was time.
Yeah, no, he's well, I never thought that. Some people thought that. But he's playing well. And, again, not great weaponry. He's got good receivers around him, and he's got a good running game and a very good offensive line. But he makes that team go. He makes the decisions. He gets rid of the ball quick. He gets it to the right guys. He's playing as well as I've seen him play, given the people around him.
How did you do? What was your game plan with Brady? What did you want him to do?
We felt like you had to be able to pressure with 4 guys, much like Peyton, much like Rodgers. If you have to blitz them, they know it's coming. They're too smart. If you don't get pressure on him, he's too accurate. So you have to be able to get pressure. We had a lot of luck when we were at home because we had Mathis and Freeney, and now you're forcing him to throw quick, and you can still defend with 7 guys. Didn't have as much pressure when we played him in New England with the grass and everything. But that's it. If you can't get pressure without blitzing, you will struggle against Tom Brady.
Before I let you go, one of my favorite stories, because we always think that Belichick doesn't like the opposing coach, that there's not much dialogue there. And you face Belichick so many times. And then you go to a coach's meeting. Now
we're at the owners' meetings.
Oh, yeah. So the owners' meetings, and there's one seat left, and Belichick sits next to you?
Sits down right next to me, and we're talking and having fun and just like we're teammates almost.
But how surprised are you that Belichick is engaging when he probably didn't say anything after a loss with you?
If you know him, that's the way he is. You get away from that football setting, and he's great to be around. And we've had fun at those type of settings. Then you get on the field, and after a game, you may not get a handshake. You may get a handshake. He's just in another world. Now, I'll tell you this. When we did beat them in the championship game to go to the Super Bowl, we had about a 1-minute conversation afterwards. He wished us luck, said it was a great game. He's been, more engaging in those type of situations than the games that they've won and beat us. It's a weird deal. But he's a good guy away from the competition.
I maintain he's the greatest coach from game to game that I've ever seen, and how he adapts to use – like the second half of a game, I'm going to take advantage and I'm going to run the ball for 200 yards. I don't remember other coaches having to do that or being able to do that.
He is the best at that. Hey, we're going to be 3-4 this week. Next week we'll be 4-3. This week we're going to run LeGarrette Blount 30 times and pound the Indianapolis Colts, and then the next week it'll be 5 wide receivers and no huddle, and we're going to throw. And different game plans against an opponent based on how he can take advantage. I was never like that. We're going to do what we do and perfect it. They have about 10 different ways to play you, and you don't know what you're going to get.
Is he the greatest coach of all time?
When you think of, I'm a young person, and you think Don Shula and Vince Lombardi, nobody can be better than that. Chuck Noll. I'm always going to be a Chuck Noll guy, but to talk about him in that class, he's right up there.
But he's got an asterisk that's always going to be by his name. Yeah. Or does he?
Yeah. To me, you do. When you have that breaking the rules, that's always going to be there. Does that mean they weren't going to win? Does that mean he's not a great coach? No, but that is an asterisk.
Good to see you, Tony. Thanks for stopping by the Man Cave.
Appreciate it.